What It Takes Radio Company brings you another adventure, another episode, another class from the Stanley Jones Radio School of Fully Alive Living. And so today I'd like to introduce you and invite you to learn along with us as I tell you the story about my Sunday night meeting and how Stanley Jones came to help me. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the Stanley Jones Radio School for Fully Alive Living. I'm Stan Houston. And what we are continuing to do, and we are hoping that you will be a part of this at least weekly. We're going to try and make it at least weekly, maybe a little bit more from time to time. And then we're going to have special teaching classes in the school. And hopefully you can be a part of maybe even being a teacher. Maybe you can be someone who is a student who helps us all learn together that there is great power. Indeed, there's power and there's poise and there's purpose when we actually get in tune and get in touch with the teaching of Stanley Jones, who was in the business, I really believe, of helping us understand that the kingdom of God is not just a fire escape from hell or a stairway to heaven. It is truly a way to live now in God's eternal kingdom, unshakable kingdom, and that we can live fully alive. And let's see what we can do to learn more about that. For many years, I've taught people the principle of what I call the Sunday night meeting. The Sunday night meeting. And I try and hold a Sunday night meeting with myself, with God's Spirit, and with my schedule for the week. Let me give you a little background. As a young man, I was taught very much, Sundays are the day off. That's right. That's what, it's about church. And of course, eventually we learn the teaching about the power of the Sabbath day. Now, in my business coaching, oftentimes what I would do, I would actually say to this very, very high-powered engineer, this great consultant, this CEO, said, you know what? I think you might find out that your life would be better if that every week you took a day off, just one day off. Make it Saturday, make it Sunday, make it Monday. Take a day off. Don't do any work. Don't go to the office. Don't do text. Don't do any of those things. Just have, and I used to use this term, a super day of rest and relaxation. Maybe some recreation, maybe some reflection, but don't work at the job and the position you have. Well, of course, many of them just thought that was a little bit of a, that's Stan, he has some of these crazy ideas sometimes. But of course, some of them had some teaching in their life and they said, oh, well, maybe I should try that more of a cause. And some of them were surprised. They just said, this is working out real well. I didn't think that would work, but you know what? You're right. And then I would begin to teach them that maybe they could follow a little bit of my example. And they said, oh, what's your example? And I said, well, I'm a man of faith in the Christian tradition. And there's always been the teaching throughout the Judeo-Christian tradition of what is called the Sabbath. You just take the day. And I said, here's what I do. I work hard Monday through Friday. I really do. And then usually on Saturday, I kind of get caught up with some of my work if I still have some left over, though I try and have it done by Friday. But there's household errands that I may have to run and things I have to get done. And of course, the proverbial honey-do, would you see if you could get this done? I said, but what I try to do is around noon every Saturday, I close down, turn the computer off, put the cell phone on silent. It's my Sabbath day. There's a lot of things I can do. And of course, that flows into a Sunday morning. And as I say, part of Sunday morning is it's rest and relaxation, reflection, and reading and thinking, praying, and worship. And so I usually spend time in worship. Yeah, okay, sure. You go to church. Yeah, right. I said, and usually I leave that on until around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I have my Saturday, no, could be Saturday, but no, this is Sunday night meeting. And what I do on Sunday night is oftentimes I put on some music or light a candle, and I I just pray and plan, and I sit there and I work out a schedule and think, what am I going to do this week? What are the major challenges and opportunities I have? And it's always been a very helpful discipline for me to have a Sunday night meeting with myself and maybe the spirit, maybe some other persons. I might bring that into it. But then I go to bed early, and Monday morning, as I say, I'm ready for Monday because Monday is the day I meet the marketplace, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. Well, that's a part of what I have learned in life. But I find out that people like Stanley Jones, very much, a lot of their success is certainly spirit based, but they have systems like that too. You know, there are, as someone has said, there are rhythms, unforced rhythms, and routines, and maybe even rituals, um, and ways that they live their life consistently every day, every way, every week. And so you might want to give that some thought. Well, what I did the other day, I said, I wonder, what would happen if I could visit with Stanley Jones on a Sunday night meeting. Wouldn't that be nice? Because I actually have done where I included time where I ask a friend to say, well, can I give you a call? Like to have a little counsel and advice for the week? Well, of course, that's not possible. But I thought, wouldn't it be nice to know that I could have ways of very much making it a part of my discipline to read and think and pray about some of the great, saints and scholars and thinkers and men and women of great wisdom and strength, to bring that into my Sunday night meeting. Well, that's what happened just just yesterday. And what I did is, I've been encouraging you people to read some books. All right. Now remember, the book I also very much indicate that you should think about is, of course, the Christ of the Indian Road, which is one of the first books done by Stanley Jones 100 years ago. And there's now a new edition of it put out by Abigail Press. And I'm reading it again. It's been updated. And of course, it also has a number of very fine commentaries with it. So I would encourage you to do that. The camera doesn't catch it all the time, but you get it. Okay. Last week, I encouraged you to read this book. Many of you responded. A Heart of Wisdom. The long-awaited diary of Mabel Lossing Jones. And here we learn that just as my friend Roberto Escamilla, when he just recently lost his partner, said that, I couldn't have done the work in life without her partnership. And that was very true of Stanley Jones. And I hope you enjoyed the program and the little article that went along with it that very much described what a unique and powerful and wonderful woman she was. Well, one of the books that Look at this now. look at all the stuff that's in here. All right. The Way to Power and Poise. This is one of my favorite books, and I'm reading it again with the new edition that the Stanley. I actually read the little paperback one many years ago, but I love that Ann Matthews Eunice and the E. Stanley Jones Foundation, along with Shivraj, have put together a wonderful, bigger and easier to read edition called The Way to Power and Poise. And you see, that always attracted me. Power, poise. And of course, the thought is that it's not power and poise. It's not arrogance. It's not power over others. It's as someone has said, I have discovered that those who are walking with God have an almost unknowable personal strength, an extraordinary personal strength. And that's poise. What a good word for poise. Graceful, focused, organized, effectiveness, confidence, but humility and a humble spirit. But in that humble spirit, people also sense that there is great strength. Well, what I tried to do is I actually went back to, I said, week 15. This is the 15th week. And I went back to Power and Poise and I said, I wonder what I would learn right here. If I would actually read something from Stanley Jones from the 15th week of Power and Poise. And that's what happened. And here's what happened. It says this, in effect, God comes into our life and he cleans us up. And the point is, it's not just helping us to clean up our act, because as Stanley Jones says, he said, people who are just trying to clean up their act don't know that most of their real self is in the subconscious. A lot of who we are and what we are, we aren't even aware of. And I found that out yesterday when my wife said to me, Stan, when we give the peace in church, you need to smile more. I said, well, I smile. She says, well, not enough. Oh, really? She said, yeah, you need to smile more. You're not unpleasant, but when people give the peace in church, smile more. Don't look grouchy. Well, you see, those are the kind of things what Stanley Jones is saying to us is, you know what? Make sure you're turning over the whole of you. That's right. Surrender everything, not just what you know, not just your bad habits, not just the things that will make you a better God stuff person. It's a term I oftentimes use. People say godliness. I say, well, godliness is when you are good at God stuff, doing his stuff. And so I would encourage that, and that struck me. It struck me last night. I said, yeah, that's right. That's good for me to remember. And so, guess what? I actually had a touch of the wisdom and insight and truth and good humor of Stanley Jones last night at my Sunday night meeting. I would encourage you, perhaps, those of you who claim to have a little bit of desire and delight to know more about him, is pick up his books and maybe on Sunday night, at least, take a little time to read some of the thoughts, because here is the power. Now, I get lots of religious stuff. And what I have discovered is there are so many people out there who have theories of theology. You know, doctrine and theology, theories of theology. I call it TOTS, T-O-T. But you know, Stanley Jones has stories of transformation. And that's what I need to hear. His book, The Transformed Life. And many of his books are not deep exposés. He would not call himself a theologian. He was an evangelist. He was a preacher. He was a teacher. He was a go-getter. But he knew that what you have to know is that Jesus Christ, when he's Lord, he is in the transformation business. And what Stanley Jones did for us and can still do with us is teach us stories of transformation that may not only change our lives, it'll maybe certainly change our week, at least for a time. I'm Stan Houston. I hope that you will encourage me and encourage my little team that we're building. Please reach out to me. I would be grateful to hear from you. Stan@witradio.net. Stan@witradio.net. I would be grateful if you would encourage us and recommend us to others. Please subscribe and recommend us. We would be grateful if you would care to play a part. Maybe you'd like to be a part of the program from time to time. You have something to teach, something to give, something to share. Some of you would say, well, I'd like to help you pay for the price of all the work you do on this. We would be very, very grateful if you would have a way to encourage us and to help pay the bills for making this new Stanley Jones radio school for fully alive living. More and more I realize that was the business he was in. In Jesus, we can become fully alive. And doesn't that sound like a nice thing to be, and a nice thing to have, and a nice thing to share? I'm hoping it's said for me that when I die, they say, he was fully alive, and now he is even more, forever. Fully alive, now and forever. Thank you for your time. May you be blessed, and may you bless others. Till next time, I'm Stan, the radio man, for the Stanley Jones School. Bye for now.